This is the Field of 68. I'm Vince Wolfram.
I'm Jojo Cavanagh in Auburn, Alabama. And this
is Straight Out the Jungle. Field of 68 is back, and we're here in Neville Arena, and we couldn't be more excited. We have a very, very special guest today. He's a three-time SEC Coach of the Year, the 2023 SEC Tournament Champion, and the only coach in the history of the SEC, football and basketball, to take two programs to the #1 ranking in the country. He's straight out the jungle. He's the head coach of Auburn basketball. Welcome to the program, Bruce Pearl.
Welcome.
Vince, Jojo, it's great to be with you guys. And welcome to Neville. I'm glad that Jeff Goodman and company decided that we were worthy of our own podcast. We're gonna have some fun with it this year.
Definitely.
So excited. Yeah, so we're gonna go flip it back to last season. So 2024 SEC Tournament champs. The season did not end how we all hoped, lost to the first round NCAA tournament. But this season, how have you felt about this season, this team so far?
Well, it's early, Jojo, and you really don't know what you got until you go against somebody else. And I know when fans listen to that and they hear that, they don't believe it, but almost every coach will tell you it's really, really true. Our guys are kind of tired of banging against each other after the summer and the fall. We open up our first exhibition game at Furman, and that'll be some great exposure for us. When I say exposure, it'll show us where we're good. It'll show us areas that we need some work on. And then we open up against Florida Atlantic in a very special game here at Neville Arena. Our fans tend to complain a great deal about the fact they can't get tickets to Neville Arena because every game's sold out. And so as a result, we're traveling 1,000 or 2 fans all throughout the SEC because the best chance for them to watch their team play is to go on the road, which has been great. But this game here, we decided not to put it part of the season ticket package. So on November 1st, we're actually going to have a game admission, and the beneficiary is going to be the Together We Will Scholarship and Melton Scholars, which is a scholarship for first-generation students, many of them African-American, and the idea is having Auburn available to many folks that wouldn't think financially it's in their ballpark, but it's a real good scholarship work. So we're very, very excited about that. That said, I like my team. I like our experience. I think we're a little bit better defensively right now than we are offensively. And I'm going to have a brand new backcourt. And that's always an interesting challenge heading into a new season.
From the backcourt to the front court, let's just dive into your team this year. I know last year, the Final Four teams, if you look at them, Purdue, NC State, Alabama, and UConn, they all played two bigs simultaneously. You're historically a one big man style offense, but with depth this year, with Janai, Dylan Cardwell, Chaney, who's had a great summer, Jaheim, how will you manage the 4 and 5 positions heading into the season?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think Chaney and Dylan and Janai have the advantage because they're all returning players. And when you talk about two bigs, I always looked at Janai playing with Jalen Williams or playing with Chaney Johnson as two bigs, but I love bigs that you can invert. I like my bigs on the perimeter as well as on the inside. I think all of my bigs, including Turtle, Jaheim Hudson, AD, Adonis Scott, all 5 of those guys can play with their back to the basket and they can play facing. So whether we're playing one big and 4 guards with one of those guards being really big, or with playing 2 bigs but them all being versatile, I've always sort of believed in that. And we're going to have really, really good depth. I've not played Dylan and Janai together, but I think in order to be our best team possible and have the minutes work out, those 2 players will be on the floor together more than they were a year ago.
We're going to take it to the freshmen now. So you have 2 highly anticipated freshmen incoming. You have 5-star Tahad Pettiford and overtime alum Ja'Kai Howard. Both of them from the Northeast. Ja'Kai from Boston, Tahad from New Jersey. Northeast basketball is something I'm very familiar with.
New York right here.
New York right here. So I want to know to you, what have you seen from these 2 freshmen specifically that have differentiated them from other freshmen you've coached?
Jojo, they're special. They are special. Start with Tahad. And they're both going to be NBA players at some point. Tahad is a great scorer. He's not afraid of the moment. If he's open, or even if he's not open, he can make shots. He can also get downhill and make tough twos, which is really rare for a player that's at 6 foot or 6'1". They're both freaky athletes. I'm talking freaky athletes with tremendous ability to elevate, very, very explosive. Tahad, the biggest transition for both of them is on the defensive end. Guys coming out of high school, they can play offensively, even at a high level. But to guard at the Power 5 level, to rebound at the Power 5 level, to execute at this level is a bit of a challenge. And that's where they're both playing great catch-up. So Tahad will play both 1 and 2. Very excited about him. And he'll contribute right away. Jakai is a human highlight reel. He had a 40-inch vertical at overtime. He has a 45-inch vertical right now.
It's not human.
They both did a great job this summer in the weight room. They both got bigger and stronger, which is a big adjustment from coming out of high school. Jakai can make shots. He's hard to stay out of the lane. He's going to be able to get to the foul line. He's very active defensively. We're trying to get him to understand how to be active while still understand the team concepts. He's obviously working on that. But I'm very excited about both of them. They're both going to have good freshman years. There'll be some times they're going to have really good games, occasionally a great game as freshmen. And I think in 2 years, they're both going to be dominating players.
One thing you touched on was minutes. And I know for transfer portal with NIL, that an entirely new face of college basketball, guys are coming in with high-level experience. You look at a guy like Miles, who led Georgia Tech in minutes, playing 32 minutes a game, to come here where you traditionally play 10 guys for double-digit amount of minutes. How do you orchestrate minutes and keep guys in rhythm throughout a game, throughout a season, especially coming in with experience like these guys have?
I think the rhythm thing is overrated. People that recruit against us will say, well, you don't go to Auburn, you'll play 20, 25 minutes and you won't be in any rhythm. How about coming to Auburn, play 20, 25 minutes and play hard and not take possessions off and be in a position where throughout a long season you're not going to get fatigued and less risk of injury and where you're going to be around other good players and you've got to make some sacrifices. You've got to be a little bit more unselfish. When Miles Kelly goes to the NBA at some point during his career, whether next year or the following year, whatever that is, he's not going to be the best player on the floor like he was at Georgia Tech, get the most minutes, get all the shots. He's got to fit into his pieces. So where is he great? He obviously is a great shooter. He can get downhill. He can make some mid-range shots. He's working really hard at becoming an elite defender. So he's almost demonstrated that he can be the leading scorer. He's already demonstrated what great shooter he is. Now he's here to demonstrate that he can be a great defender as well by not having to play 33 minutes a game. And maybe be a part of a championship team.
Yeah, and I think in ways it can almost experience a player more to what a realistic, like an NBA-style team would be.
Well, it also puts yourself in position to be successful. And if you're having to play out, Jabari Smith was a great example. He came out of high school, and they wondered whether he could do more than be a really good jump shooter for his size. Well, he didn't play 35 minutes a game. He played 28 minutes a game. And as a result, he affected the game on the defensive end. He blocked shots. He rebounded his position. He got downhill. His motor ran. And I think that's what's most important for our guys to do. And then, of course, you got a better locker room because guys are sharing it at the expense of not being in a rhythm playing 35 minutes a game.
Yeah, they got to get in and make their impact in the minutes that they have.
Right, absolutely.
So looking at your team and looking at the face of college basketball, the average age on your team is just over 21 years old, which across the land, that's pretty
much
old
it.
For a college basketball
And that's
team.
become the way it is, though. Look at the power. Look at the SEC. I mean, we're an old team, but we're not the only old team. There's a lot of us. And I think, look, the difference between someone that's 18 and 22 is enormous. The difference between 28 and 32 or 38 and 42, those 4 years you get a little older mean nothing.
Right.
Right? I'm 64. The difference between me and when I was 60, not a little bit more gray, a few more LBs, but 18 to 22, those 4 years matter. And so that's why you're seeing out of transfer portal so many really older, good mid-major players. Look at my roster. My roster is loaded with mid-majors, Division IIs, junior college players that are coming in humble and hungry with an opportunity to play at the highest level.
Over the last couple of years, the transfer portal has gone from difficult to relatively easy. We've gone from NIL, players get no money, to money. From a recruiting standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, do you feel like you've learned more in the last couple of years than you have over the course of your career?
The game's changed, so you got to learn to adapt and you got to learn to play based on what these rules are. So I think the ability to adapt, I think, is important. I'm still not going to change how I coach. I'm not going to worry that if I coach a player hard, they may transfer, because at the end of every year it's free agency and they don't have to sit out and they can go in the market and compete in the NIL space, and every player's got to do that. The advantage I have here at Auburn is they love Auburn. They want to be Auburn men. They love the way they're treated by the Auburn family. They want an Auburn degree. And we've graduated 40 players in the last 10 years, including 32 African American players. I don't know that there's a Power 5 team in the country that's graduated that many guys. The reason is because they like it here. They want to stay. And so that's been what sort of our secret sauce. We haven't had to go into the transfer portal and just recruit them. Many of the guys that were here for a while have been here a while. And now, next year, my roster is going to be a complete rebuild.
Yeah, one of those players who was here for a while, Jalen Williams, one of the most loyal players, most winningest player in Auburn men's basketball history. He was a veteran. He is gone now. He's with the Denver Nuggets. How do you see a player taking in that leadership role after someone who was here for 5 years is gone?
Well, Jalen was a bucket getter. I could call a play. I could get a 3-ball. I could get a step in. I could get a bucket. And we not necessarily replace that. I think Chaney Johnson can be a little bit more aggressive. We've got some other pieces that we obviously can go to. But Jalen, like you said, the all-time winningest player in the history of Auburn basketball, and he's now with the Denver Nuggets. I mean, he had a great great career. And you can't necessarily replace those guys. You've got to be different. We're gonna have some different guys out there. And so it's going to be fun. The one thing I like about this team is they like each other. Adversity can build character, but it always will reveal it. We're going to have some adverse situations early in the season based on our schedule. That's just a fact. How do we handle the fact that we're literally going to play 4 or 5 teams that could be favored to be in the Final Four? And so the results of those games, we're not going to win them all. How many can we get, and how are we going to react when we don't get it?
Let's talk about that non-conference schedule, because it is the hardest in program history.
Well, it's the hardest
Why?
in the country. It's hardest. Why? Because it's easier to get there than it is to stay there. And so it was easier to get Auburn basketball to where we are right now. We've been ranked in the top 10 6 out of the last 7 years at some point. It's harder to stay there. I can't control everything. But one of the things I can't control is my schedule. So the fact that Matt Painter and Purdue think that bringing Auburn to Indianapolis next year for a neutral site game would be a game that they could sell out. We've worked really hard to put or for Kelvin Sampson to think that he wants to open his season with Auburn because it could be a good draw for his fans and a great test for his team. God, Vince, that's what I've worked for my whole career, to get a program like Auburn in that position. And I'm 64 years old. I'm not buying green bananas anymore. I don't have to, I got to win them at the end of the year. We got to do a better job of winning at the end of the year. We have not advanced past the second round since 2019. That sticks with me. And so the best way I think to do that is to play against the best teams and figure it out.
So this season, you have the chance to become the winningest coach in Auburn men's basketball history. What does that mean to you to have your legacy like that at a place like Auburn?
Well, whether it be Joel Eves or Sonny Smith or Cliff Ellis or the other great coaches that have coached here, I'm glad to be amongst them. I think at this time in my career, I knew when I got here that if we could get this program turned around and competitive, that it could be a place where it could be my last job. And I wanted it to be. I didn't come here to leave. I came here to try to build a champion. And at some point you get tired of, finding somebody else to cut your hair and a place you want to pray and worship. And so this is home now. This is my home. This is my family's home. It's where my kids are, most of them. This is where my grandkids are, some of them. And Auburn is home.
One last question to pull the students in, to get them hype about this season. Give the fans a message to try to, they do their thing, we know. The jungle is
right.
Packed all the time. But what's your pull to bring a little extra sauce to the Auburn basketball season?
Our students know that we're going to bring it, that we're going to respect every opponent that comes in here, but we're not going to fear any of them. You think about some of the teams that are playing here. Like Vermont has won their league like 14 out of the last like 16, 17 years. Richmond won the A-10 last year. And these are the teams. Everybody's going to be thinking about Ohio State and, Duke and, the Maui and stuff like that. We have got some great opponents coming in. Kent State was a team that played in the finals of the conference tournament. So we're going to bring in really good teams. Our students will know we're going to bring it. And the games are going to be exciting. And I think our students want to show up just in case. Is this the game Coach Pearl actually has a heart attack? I mean, he's going to have a heart attack. He's going to have a heart attack at some point. Is this the game he's going to fall over? And you don't want to miss that.
Right, yeah.
Well, we hope not.
No. Right. Exactly. Well, that was great. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Bruce, for your time. And for more, you can make sure to hit the links in our description below. But today, from Neville Arena, that's all we've got for the Field of 68. War Eagle.
War Eagle.